You never know who you're hating on. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they're going through currently. And you don't really know what you're looking at when you're actually hating on them. And that's a lesson that I had to learn in regards to Punkie Johnson, episode 1937. You see, I've been to LA and I've been to the Comedy Store. And I have a story to tell you after I play this clip. But it was me being an all-out hater. Because if you asked me and my friend Mike, shout out to Mike, love you, buddy. If you asked us, who's the worst comedian you've ever seen? We would say Punkie Johnson. And we would be absolutely dead wrong. And I didn't know why until now. And I'll explain that after I play the clip. But let's get into it.
In New Orleans? Where'd you start?
I started so I was always a comedian in my head. Like, I would always, make up these little jokes. New Orleans wasn't big on comedy. They're still not too, they're growing. It's a growing comedic community out there right now. And my family they comedians. They just goofy. I mean, we don't cry at funerals. We just just dumb. My mom cracked jokes when she was punishing me as a kid. She would say riddles while she was whipping my ass. I mean, it was nothing, everything was just funny. It was nothing ever was serious in my family. And if we, on the weekends, you clean the house, you listen to music. We listen to comedy in my house. And before I went to sleep every night, I watched Comic View on BET. So I was like, you know what, I want to do that. And so I started in Los Angeles when I got out there.
So the Store was the first time you did stand-up?
I think the first time I ever did a set was at the Ice House in the Rhino Room.
The little room.
The small room in the back.
Yeah, that small room is the shit.
Oh, yeah. If I need to go and practice something.
That small room is truth serum. If your jokes suck in that small room, they suck. Yeah.
I'll go take a nice sexy bomb in them little bitty rooms. just some shit I'm just got in my head and I need to get out. Oh, yeah. Like the Belly Room, Rhino Room.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the Laugh Factory got a little room.
No,
so I just like the little baby rooms.
Those little rooms are, when you're with a tiny amount of people, you get to see what's bullshit in your act.
Yeah, and it's close, and it's intimate.
Yeah.
And you look at people dead in their eyes.
Yeah.
Like you. So
yeah.
I like the smaller rooms.
So that was your first set. So what year was this?
I think this was June 2011. It's probably on one of my, I keep my calendars. It's probably on one of my old calendars.
So I don't think I met you until I came back to the Store, which was the 14th, 2014, I think.
Yes, and that's when all the stories started happening about you. I was like, because I'm like, yo, that's the Fear Factory dude, the Fear Factor dude. I'm like, what the, because I didn't know the history. So so basically, I'm like this chick from New Orleans, Louisiana. It's the country. You know what I'm saying? New Orleans is a city, but I went to school in Thibodaux, Louisiana. And that's super, super country town, right? Now, I always had dreams of coming to Hollywood, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. So it was just me verbally speaking it. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I moved back to New Orleans. I was in an 8-year relationship with this girl. We broke up. I didn't know how to be hurt. That was my first time ever being hurt. So I started following her everywhere.
Oh, no.
And stalking her. And I remember I used to sit outside in this tree with snacks and weed.
You sat in a tree?
I'm telling you, I was tripping. I was young and I didn't know what to do. And I don't know. I was tripping. Anyway, cut all that shit short.
Right.
I'm like, you know how you just got to look in the mirror sometimes and be like, yo, you tripping.
Right.
Chase your dreams. Don't be chasing no females. What are you doing?
Right.
So I just had this epiphany about myself. Bro, get out of here. And within a week, I was out. I told my job I quit. I told my moms I was leaving. I packed up all my shit in this 2-door blue Honda thing. And I drove across the country just like that.
Wow.
And that's how I got into comedy, because I had an interview at the Comedy Store. And when I got there, it was 75 people in the original room. And I looked around. I ain't never seen no shit like that before. Audition, you waiting in the office, it's 1-2 people maybe. This was a line full of people waiting to be seen. So I pulled back. I was like, all right, okay. If I get this job, that means it's meant for me to do comedy. Because I was like, ain't no way I'm going to get this job out of all these people. So I get interviewed. The dude, Mark, he loved the fact that I was from New Orleans. He was gay, and he loved the fact that I was gay. So I got hired. And I had a lot of charisma, Joe. Come on now. Come on now.
Had you ever bartended before?
Yeah. I
Okay.
bartended for I think 2 years before. But that's the comedy. See, a lot of people be sleeping on the comedy, so that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
The volume.
So I just wanted to play that little intro of Punkie. So here's my story with Punkie Johnson, right? Me and my buddy just goes crazy with Bitcoin. He hits a bunch of money and he's like, I want to go on a trip. And he's like, I want to go to 3 places. He wanted to go to Vegas, Hawaii, LA, and where else did we go? I think that was it. So we're just traveling around. And I was like, I'm not coming with you. The only way I'll come with you is if I can get a tattoo in every place we go to. And he was like, fine. That's why I have this mushroom tattoo on my hand. I have a bunch of mushrooms on my arm because of him. So we hit LA, we land. The first thing I do is I call my buddy John. I say, John, let's go. I got to get a tattoo somewhere. He's like, all right, let's go. I'll take you wherever you want. We go. I get the tattoo. The guys are at the Comedy Store. That's where they go. They just head to the Comedy Store because they got to see it. Because it's the Comedy Store. It is Mecca. It is. Until Joe Rogan builds his comedy club in Texas, the Comedy Store is Mecca. So they head there. I had to get a tattoo. I get the tattoo. I head over to the Comedy Store. It takes an hour, 2 hours to get I get a big dirty mushroom on my elbow. By the time I get there, it's late. The last acts are going up. Who's on stage? Punkie Johnson. And she's bombing. Okay? Just bombing. Terribly. All right? And then she even looks at me. She said in this clip, she's like, I like those rooms. I could look right in somebody's eye. She looks me right in the eye. She's like, nigga. And I'm like, what the? I'm like, who is this person? Why is this? Who is, where are all the comedians? Yeah, and then she just bombed. And me and my buddy, again, if I call my buddy Mike right now and I say, hey, who's the worst comedian? He'll be like, Punkie Johnson. But a couple years later, what did I end up doing? I ended up doing stand-up. And what did I end up doing when I did stand-up? Well, I ate shit like everybody does. And it's hard. It's very hard. It's one of the hard. If you choose to do it, it'll be one of the hardest things that you've done, especially when you're trying to get good. So who was I hating on? I was hating on somebody who decided to follow their dreams. They just went through a hard breakup. They said, forget it all. I'm just going to go follow my dreams. They traveled across country. They beat the odds in getting hired by the Comedy Store to be a bartender. And they took a position as a bartender in order to do comedy. So who was I actually looking at? I wasn't looking at some shitty comedian. I was looking at somebody who was bartending for years. And when everybody would go, or when she had an opportunity, she would get on stage and try out her material and work on certain things. And was actually, as she just said, was looking to bomb. Because whenever she had something in her head, she'd be like, screw it, I'll just do it. If I bomb, whatever. That's who I was actually looking at. I was actually looking at somebody who was fighting for their dream, fighting for their life. And I just saw them for 3 minutes on stage and I was like, oh, this person's terrible. You never know who you're hating on, man. You never know. And then years later, gets on to Saturday Night Live. And I think it's an even bigger, more prestigious accolade. But then she gets on the Joe Rogan show. JRE. You have no idea who you're hating on. So it's hate on people if you want. You can run around in comment sections. You can be a keyboard warrior. You can even look at people and judge them. But you don't know who the fuck you're talking to. You have no idea who you're hating on. You have no idea who you're putting down. And that was me. I've been a straight up hater for years. And I have to say, I know she'll never see it unless this video blows up like other ones have. But man, I'm sorry, Punkie. I'm so sorry. I had no idea how hard it was. I had no idea how hard your life was. I'm just so sorry. Like, you gotta do that when you're wrong. And I was dead wrong. I had never done comedy. I had never traveled across country to chase my dreams. You know what I mean? When I went through a bad breakup, I curled up in my bed and just cried for a year. That's what I did when I went through a breakup. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So that's the reason why I did this clip, because it's just like wild. Like, I watched this whole episode and I'm like, this is the person that I was hating on for years. Hating on. Somebody who's just like all of us, chasing dreams, just trying to make it happen, feeling like they're not good enough, tirelessly working at their craft, waking up every day or every night and bartending in a high volume place where it's just pure craziness, and just hoping and praying that one day she gets an opportunity to really show who she is to the world. That's who I was hating on. So you don't know who you're hating on. You could be hating on somebody who really doesn't need that shit from you, who really doesn't need to hear it, who really could go without that, who could really go with some support. And it's so much easier to support, you know? But yeah, I just wanted to say that. My apologies, Punkie. My apologies. Crazy. I'm out.